18th century was a turning point in English literature because it marked the rise of the novel as a major and distinct literary genre. However, the novel did not emerge on its own. It was shaped by a mix of earlier literary traditions, changes in society, and cultural developments. The novel's growth in the 18th century was influenced by several important factors. These included the Industrial Revolution, the fading popularity of earlier forms like romance and drama, the rise of the middle class, and the creation of lending libraries. Together, these changes created a perfect environment for the novel to thrive, making it both a popular source of entertainment and a way to explore human experiences. One major reason for the rise of the novel was the Industrial Revolution. With industries developing quickly, society saw big changes, including more free time for many people. As machines took over manual labor, individuals had more leisure time to enjoy activities like reading. The invention of the printing press also helped because it made books cheaper and easier to get. More people, especially from the growing middle class, could afford books and had the time to read them. Newspapers, magazines, and novels became common, encouraging the habit of reading and making literature a part of everyday life. The decline of older literary forms like romance and drama also cleared the way for the novel. Romances, which had been popular among the upper classes, began to lose their appeal to the general public. Stories about knights, dragons, and heroic adventures seemed less relevant to ordinary people's lives. These tales often had unrealistic settings and exaggerated characters that did not match the real world experiences of 18th century readers. Novels, on the other hand, focused on the lives of ordinary people and offered relatable and realistic stories which made them more appealing. Drama also lost its influence during the 17th century, especially under Oliver Cromwell's Puritan rule. When theatres were closed, even after the theatres reopened during the Restoration, drama never fully recovered its popularity. Novels, however, gained an advantage because they could reach a wider audience. Unlike plays, which required people to go to a theatre, novels could be read anywhere by anyone who had access to a book. This made novels a more inclusive and accessible form of entertainment. The rise of the middle class in the 18th century was a key factor in the development of the novel. With the Industrial Revolution and the growth of trade and business, a new social class emerged that was educated and eager to read stories reflecting their lives and goals. This middle class wanted literature that spoke to their everyday experiences, values, and concerns. Novels became a way to explore and celebrate the values of this group, offering stories that felt familiar and relevant to them. Libraries also played an important role in spreading the popularity of novels. Libraries, including mobile ones, made books available to more people, including women, who often spent much of their time at home with limited social interaction. Borrowing books from libraries encouraged more people to read, and novels quickly became a favorite. Mobile libraries, which delivered books directly to homes, were especially helpful for women, as they could exchange books regularly without leaving their homes. This greater access to books helped make novels a central form of entertainment and intellectual activity in 18th century society. While these social changes created the right conditions for the novel's rise, it was the work of authors like Daniel Defoe, Samuel Richardson, Henry Fielding, and Lawrence Stern that truly defined the novel as a new literary genre. These writers introduced innovative storytelling techniques, focused on character development, and tackled complex themes, making the novel a powerful way to explore human experiences in ways that older forms of literature could not. Daniel Defoe is often seen as one of the first great writers of the English novel. His famous work Robinson Crusoe is considered one of the earliest true novels in English literature. Defoe used a first person narrative which made the story feel realistic and personal, an important new feature in novels. Though Robinson Crusoe is mainly an adventure story, it also focuses on the personal and moral growth of the main character, moving away from the magical and unrealistic elements found in older romance stories. Defoe's characters were often everyday people dealing with real life problems, reflecting the interests and values of the middle class. Samuel Richardson, another important figure in the rise of the novel, is best known for his epistolary novel Pamela or Virtue Rewarded. An epistolary novel is written in the form of letters, and Richardson used this style to give readers a deep look into his characters' thoughts and feelings. This approach brought a new level of emotional and psychological realism to literature. Pamela tells the story of a young woman from a modest background and explores themes like virtue, morality, and social class, which connected with the values of the growing middle class. Richardson's novels showed that storytelling could teach moral lessons and deeply move readers, shaping the novel into a meaningful literary form. Henry Fielding, often called the father of the English novel, had a different style. He wrote picaresque novels, which are adventurous stories filled with humor, satire, and realistic details. His most famous work, Tom Jones, is an excellent example of this. Unlike Richardson, who focused on the emotions and thoughts of his characters, Fielding explored social and moral issues through his stories. He used satire to expose the problems and hypocrisies of society while entertaining readers. Fielding's work helped create the comic novel, and novels could be both serious and fun, addressing social issues in an engaging way. The 18th century novel was characterized by its focus on realism, its engagement with middle class values, its use of satire and allegory, and its willingness to experiment with narrative techniques. These features established the novel as a central form of literary expression, paving the way for its continued development in the centuries to come. Laurence Sterne was another important writer who helped shape the novel in the 18th century. His work, The Life and Opinions of Tristram Shandy, Gentleman, published in 9 parts between 1759 and 1767, was very different from traditional novels. Sterne used experimental techniques like non-linear storytelling, interruptions, and digressions, making his novel unique and unpredictable. He explored complex ideas about human thoughts and storytelling itself. His humor, irony, and self-awareness influenced later writers and showed that novels could be flexible and innovative. The novels of the 18th century stood out because of their new features that made them different from earlier types of stories. One key feature was realism. Authors worked to reflect everyday life in ways their readers could relate to. They used verisimilitude, making things seem true and believable, by imitating how ordinary people talked, acted, and experienced life. Writing in the first person also helped create closeness between readers and characters, making the story feel personal and engaging. Another major change in 18th century novels was their focus on middle class characters. Instead of writing about kings, knights, or magical heroes, these stories were about ordinary people and the struggles they faced in daily life. This reflected the growing influence of the middle class in society. These novels often taught lessons about morality and encouraged readers to behave virtuously while pointing out the flaws and bad behaviors in society. Satire and allegory were also important tools in many 18th century novels. Writers like Jonathan Swift in Gulliver's Travels used satire to criticize the problems and injustices in society, disguising these critiques in humorous or fantastical stories. Tobias Smollett, in works like The Adventures of Roderick Random, used humor and irony to highlight the flaws and vices of everyday people. These techniques allowed authors to address serious issues in entertaining and thought-provoking ways. 18th century writers experimented with storytelling techniques. Sterne's Tristram Shandy is a perfect example, as it broke traditional rules of how stories were told trying out new and creative approaches. This spirit of experimentation was a defining feature of the 18th century novel, as writers explored what the novel could do and how it could be used to entertain, teach, and inspire.